I have a really hard time like voicing my feelings because that's like in my household I sort of had to like assume my parents are feeling a certain way so it's not step on their toes, so it's not get yelled at. And so I realized I copy and pasted that into my relationships, and where I think I'm being a good communicator, I'm not.
Okay.
All right.
How you doing?
Grenine. Grenine, yeah. I started like sending that in my emails. I hope people understand it.
Grenine?
Yeah.
You start... Well, okay, I feel like your company is pretty young and hip.
Yeah.
That's so
Grenine.
cute. Wow,
With
look
the
at
pumpkin
you.
emoji because it's October now.
Favorite month?
Yes, pumpkin and then the falling leaves and the pumpkin and the falling leaves right before my signature.
Oh,
You know?
that's very cute, very spirited.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great month.
Oh.
It's a great month. October's busy.
Okay.
You guys, I swear when people come in, like, just like travel in general. Okay, well, going back. Why do I love October? It's a perfect month to travel.
I agree, 100%.
It's like anywhere. Like, you go to New York, the weather's nice. You come to LA, the weather's
Usually nice.
usually nice.
Yeah.
I think it's just nice everywhere.
Yeah.
But I swear when people come and visit LA, they always come like in swarms. Like they come at the same time.
Oh, yep. That makes sense.
Then, my booty and me trying to plan out my schedule and how can I be attentive to these people. It's just stressful.
Oh, God. She's playing TMZ tour guide over here.
Yeah, it's stressful. So my mom was like, you should just take everybody like at the same time. I'm like, oh, yeah. Pass on that. Okay, but this week... I'm not like fluent. Like I am pretty good at Korean. Like I think I understand better than I can speak. But my boyfriend, I think I actually have a larger vocabulary than him, but he doesn't really have an accent when he speaks Korean. So people think he speaks better than me. So yeah, so we'll be talking and he'll just say these words and I'm like, that does not sound right. Like, that doesn't sound right. So I was making fun of him. And as you guys know, I'm pretty confident when I make statements, even though I'm like 120% wrong. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Or like, yeah, that's wrong. And I'm wrong. So he said this word, hoochie poochie.
Hoochie boochie.
Yeah, hoochie poochie. But it's just like funny to say. So it was a joke because hoochie poochie, I think the context he was using it in was like, it's like shabby, it's like not good. So I was like, don't say bougie, it's bougie. It's not bougie, it's bougie. Like hoochie bougie. So then I started rounding the word like, oh, that's real hoochie bougie. And then we had dinner with my parents and I was just like trying to like make fun of him and I was like, oh my, guess what? Be making up all these random words and he was like a hoochie bougie and my mom was like, oh, that's a word, and I was like, what? That's a word? And so then we went down this like what's the thing that he said a couple of weeks ago? Track of trains.
Okay.
We went down this track of trains and then we were talking about other words like hutturumaturu. I had to think about it for a sec because I was like, what in the world was that? I don't even know what it means. But anyways, if you wanted to learn Korean, I'm giving you 2 new words. Okay, but that was actually the most exciting thing.
No, you honestly though, you really stay making fun of people and you're completely wrong. Like literally, it's always, oh yeah. Your confidence is just through the roof. We love that. But yeah, what have I been up to? Oh, okay. So basically, so I used to make fun of Julie. For not liking so we're the same. I used to make fun of Julie for not liking camping, right? Because I was like, oh, Julie needs her 10-step facial routine. She'll probably bring her mom along with her so she could do her skincare routine for her and just like, all of that. And then this past weekend I went camping in Mammoth. Okay, firstly did not realize how far Mammoth is. Did not realize that it was basically NorCal. And then so Friday night, my friend had a housewarming and I was like, I'm gonna leave by 11:30. I left at 1.
Yes.
Got back. My roommate and her boyfriend were watching Squid Game as well as the entire world. Everyone was watching
Yes.
Squid Game. And so I didn't want to like be like, hey, can you guys turn it down? Because I just like didn't want to inconvenience them, because also a big part of the entire series is like the sound, right? Like the sound design.
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Oh, okay.
Except I
okay.
don't need to watch it because I already know what happens.
Don't tell me what
because-
happens, because I don't know yet. I have two.
You didn't watch it
I have
either.
2 more episodes left.
Okay,
but,
okay.
So I didn't ask them to turn it down, but that was a mistake because her boyfriend stayed up watching Squid Game until like 4 a.m. I want to say, and then I had to get up an hour later at 5 a.m. to go meet for camping, and so your girl did not get any sleep. Slept on the way there for like an hour and a half. As soon as we got there, we literally hiked for like 3+ hours. Like it was like a 4 or 5 mile hike. And within the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh shit, it's getting to me. I thought I was fine. No, like the lack of sleep was getting to me. And then after the hike, we had to literally set up camp and cook like immediately because it was going to start getting dark. And you know, there's no lights when it's dark outside. And so
Yes. That's why it's dark.
and so we literally set up, had dinner, played a couple games, and then they were like, okay, let's sleep. And it's 9 p.m. Mind you, I sleep at like 1 a.m. And also I took a nap. And so I couldn't sleep. Even though I was like so exhausted, I literally could not sleep the entire night. And so the entire car ride home, I just slept. And mind you, like this is like with my friend Diane. You guys know Diane and a couple of her friends who I've never met before. So they probably just think I'm like
Just
like,
there. You're just there.
a sloth. Yeah. But also like so nice. They were so understanding. And so I think it was a good time.
That's
but
good.
like maybe next time I just need to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're going to spend the week recovering.
Oh yeah. You definitely need to train yourself.
Right.
Like when you came home at 1 o'clock, that's already late, but were you like on your phone?
No, you know what it was because I interacted with so many new people at the housewarming, and I'm such an extrovert. My heart was like so full, like it was racing.
Oh
Like
my
I was,
gosh.
isn't that so? Yeah, like I was like, oh my gosh, like I really thrive off of people's energy.
That confirms I'm an introvert, I think. I know people are like, Julie, shut the F up, but dude, yeah, not me. That's a no for me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
That's exciting though.
yeah. So it was a good trip. I'm very tired, so excuse the eye bags if you're watching this on YouTube.
Wait, I have one more check-in then, because you're talking about sleep and your inability to fall asleep. But like, can I just say, I got a new mattress topper and bed sheets, and it was so soft. I slept like a baby. I just want to share that.
Where did you get your sheets from?
No idea. It's from my mom. Probably from like Kim
Sejong-gi.
Sejong-gi. It's so soft. Like it's so soft.
Bro. Yeah. I was like, I was the type of tired where I thought I was gonna get scissor lock at night. Yeah. So that was it for our
chicken.
But yeah, you guys, we are here today with Carrie, who is the founder of Asian Mental Health Project. And actually we know each other from USC.
Let's do a little star
Fight on.
touch. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Like all of us.
She just wants
You're
to...
using the wrong finger. As I've been directed by Hannah.
you know how people say you have to do the fight on like the V with your right hand only? Oh, did you not know
Carrie
this?
didn't know this?
No. You got it.
All right.
Fight on, baby.
Fight
that was
on.
cute. That was really cute. But yeah, no, can you tell us a little bit more about Asian Mental Health Project and like, yeah, what are you guys about?
Yeah. So the spiel I give is that Asian Mental Health Project it serves as we use multimedia content creation, events, and other ways to help make mental health care more accessible for the Pan-Asian community. And it started as something that was completely digital. It started a couple years ago. I just made a post on Instagram. I was really frustrated with sort of the lack of mental health resources, particularly for folks who look like me, look like us,
Right.
a couple years ago, especially for teenagers. So my initial intention for the project was to like make something digestible that people in high school or could understand and then, you know, feel empowered to seek the help that they need.
Yeah. No, you guys host like online workshops, and I've tuned into, you know, a couple Instagram lives and whatnot. It's been really great just like opening up like a conversation about mental health.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's really awesome also to see like having been a part of this like mental health community like online, it's really flourished a lot in the last couple of years. So, you know, right now I feel like there's a lot of really great resources. I mean, there's still obviously still issues and stigma and, you know, access and a lot of that, but it's been really cool to be a part of this movement and like talking more about mental health online, especially for Asian folks. You know, there's a lot more talk of it online. There's so many, you know, Asian mental health blanks, you know, like there's like Asian Mental Health Collective, which is awesome. You know, Asians for Mental Health, Subtle Asian Mental Health, like, you know, all these different communities have arisen, you know, in the last couple of years. So it's been really cool to be a part of that. And I'm really happy to, you know, see where it's going.
Yeah.
And so you can find that Instagram, I was gonna say channel, handle at Asian Mental Health Project. And you can find Carrie at Curiosities. Oof. Which when I first read that, I was like Curiosites. But Curiosities, CarrieOsities, not Carasites. Curiosities. And then AsianMentalHealthProject.com.
Yes.
And, you know, when we were thinking about, like, what did we want to talk about today with you, Carrie? I think we wanted to focus a bit on the first generation, right? And, you know, like, Hannah, we talk a lot about dating. We talk a lot about relationships. So particularly being mentally healthy going into a relationship, coming from Asian household.
Oh, yeah.
Our experiences, maybe from the influences of our parents, maybe the lack thereof, or the too much. So yeah, that's
Oh gosh.
yeah. So talking about relationships, what is the single status sitch?
Single status.
It is a tongue twister.
Single status sitch.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Very single.
Amazing.
The other day, speaking of parents, my mom was okay. So there's so much we can unpack about. I love this topic of like being first generation, like coming in to a new culture where dating looks very different than from what our parents experience, and relationships look very different. So like navigating like the dissonance there, you know, that's super interesting. But fun thing, my mom was talking to me the other day, and she always is like, so you know, do you have a boyfriend now? And I'm like, Mom,
oh god,
no, I've been single for a couple months. It's only been a couple months. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But the other day she was like, Carrie, you know, your brother has been with his girlfriend for 4 years. Like, they're gonna celebrate. I feel like I've seen 4 different guys come in through our home through that time, and I'm like, okay, I can't keep one. Okay, just let me. Damn.
Oh gosh, you really just left no crumbs. She was like, let's go for it.
No, but it was really interesting because it did get me thinking. I was like, it makes me think about, you know, my intentions now of you know, why have I been in and out of relationships? Why I would consider myself someone who like really thrives or seeks out monogamy, but I'm not really sure why, you know, a lot of the time. But I know that, you know, a lot of what we go through in our relationships stems from what we witnessed growing up. So that's something I'm like actively unpacking currently, and like we'll probably constantly unpack. So that's such an interesting topic. Long ways.
Oh no, there's also a lot to unpack from what you just said.
Indeed.
So
Goodness. Yeah. And so if we could just start that unpacking process, what do you think is like maybe one of the reasons that you would contribute to being like, would you say a serial monogamous, like maybe a serial dater? We'll call it that.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I think I don't know. I think growing up, you know, I think I really took on, you know, finding a relationship as one of the main goals that I should achieve growing up. Because, you know, like talking to my parents, like, you know, by this time you are, as a young girl, my mom was like, you know, by the age of 26, hello, I'm 24 going on 25. She's like, you need to be married, have children, your husband should take care of you, you should be moved into a house. Like, all that was so ingrained in me at a young age. And though I'm like actively like rejecting and like understanding what that means to me, it's still like very much ingrained in like who I am and what I want and what I do. So I feel like that's why like it's always in the back of my head. I'm like, oh shoot, like I should be pursuing a relationship right now, or like my life doesn't feel complete unless I have a partner. Which is not necessarily true, and I recognize that like externally, and I tell myself all that all the time, but does it still ring true to like what I want? Yeah. But I also like, one thing that I'm always at war with myself. I'm like, is that necessarily a bad thing? I was talking to a guy actually, and he was like, yeah, it seems like you like have conversations with yourself, and you're just I was like, okay, fine. Like you disagree with yourself a lot. I'm like, I do. Okay, it's like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Actually, no. But yeah, no, I feel like that want has been instilled in me at such a young age that like I can't really reverse it, but like, do I have to? Is it bad to want a partner, you know? And is it bad to be someone who's a serial monogamous? I don't know. Like, it's so easy to judge ourselves based on what other people are doing and set those expectations. So what I'm trying to do now is really like, sounds cheesy, but like wow. follow my heart, follow what I want to do, and be like more intentional with what I want, and also not like settle either. I think in the past, because I wanted to fill this partnership gap, you know, I would, you know, instead of, you know how people with like ignoring red flags, you know, I would definitely do that. in the like, oh, I can, you know, we can work on it all together. Like you can be in a relationship with anyone as long as you are able to work and commit to the same value, you know, that. Right. But now I'm like, that's not necessarily true, and that's not necessarily what I wanted. Like, I don't want to spend that emotional labor trying to. And you can't like mold someone or mold the relationship into what you want it to be necessarily if two parts are not willing or have the same, you know, desires there. So
wow,
was that like a mirror of what I've been telling you about like
being at war with yourself?
Oh yeah, I always thought, Hannah, like I feel like there's two me's, like they're just talking to me, truly. And I think for me, I've come to just accept the fact. Like I think I was trying to like be rebellious, right? Like, no, this is what my parents want, so I don't want that because that's not my idea. That's not what I want for myself. Like they've just been talking about it so much that it's been ingrained in me. Like it's what they wanted for me. It's not my thoughts. But also, I think because it was like that from such a young age, I don't really like. I think it rooted from them, but I almost think like now that is what I want too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, like
you like start to take it on because I think like, you know, a lot of our values are informed like by our parents, and so naturally I think there comes like a point, I think especially during this time of like transition, where you start to question like, are these my values because they're my own values, or because it's coming from like some familial expectation, like you mentioned, you know, your parents being like, so Carrie, like, do you have a boyfriend? Like that is so common, right? Like every single time I go home, it's just my grandma being like, so do you have a boyfriend? Because time is ticking, girly. Like I want grandkids. And I'm like, there's nobody even, like there's no even rotation. Like there is no potential. And so I like completely relate to you in that, like there's just like a lot of like familial pressure.
Yes? Yeah. And it's interesting because I forget that relationships are family are so intertwined. Because like, you know, when you enter a relationship, like my parents entered their relationship and they made me and my sibling, and then now we're here and we're thriving. Like it's just so interconnected, and it really is such a big part of life that like, I don't know. I always feel like they're in my brain, they're not together, but now I can like empathize with my parents, like talking about relationships a lot because it's so intertwined with family and like what our family future looks like. It's a lot to think about.
No, I think a lot of times when I first start, or actually no, I'm kind of bad at this. I think Julie's really good at this. Like when I first start dating somebody, I know my parents would not be okay. they're like, what? Like absolutely not. But I think Julie does a really good job of almost like vetting her partners on behalf of her parents.
Wait, okay. That's very, how?
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so your sibling is older than you? Okay. I think that has a huge factor, to be really honest.
Oh, yeah.
Because growing up, I feel like, you know, I have a younger sister. Hannah does too. But I feel like, so my parents, I was actually born in Korea and I came here right after my first birthday. My sister was born here. And I was always kind of the person in the middle that would try to help my sister understand where my parents were coming from. And then I was like, trying to explain to my parents where my sister was coming from. And so I feel like I am a copy paste of my parents, to be really honest. A little too much that sometimes I want to take my sister's side, but I can't because I really understand my parents. And so I know my parents so well. They know me so well. When I look at somebody, I'm like, yeah, my parents would definitely like them. Or like, I feel like my parents would be like if they were to ask him questions, right? Like I already know, but I think that comes with having just with having had so many conversations with them.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It
so-
sounds like you and your parents have like really good communication.
Yeah. I've also shared this before, but we've had like family meetings. But also I think we're so close that if two people were to argue, it affects the entire family. So like if I'm being rude to my mom, my dad is giving me more attitude than my mom is giving me attitude. And I'm just like, bro, like relax. Like this is like a all my and me problem.
Yeah,
But then he's like, I can't believe you did that to her, blah, blah, and gives me like the silent treatment. So then I have to like make up with my mom so that my dad won't be upset with me anymore.
Oh my God.
Or like here my sister is like nunchi buying, right? Like just kind of like, scoping like what's going on with the family. And she says, Julie, it's really difficult when you fight with the parents because that's my job. And she's like, so it puts me in a very difficult position. I don't know what to do because you're usually the good one. So yeah,
That is super interesting.
Yeah, no, she does a great job, and like,
thank you.
I to be quite honest,
bad at that.
cannot say the same.
I can't say the same either. But that's amazing. Well, I mean, the reason why I asked, like, it's interesting because it sounds like you and your parents have really good communication skills, and I feel like a lot of time the way we communicate in relationships mirrors the way we communicate in families, which is really interesting because that made me think of my family where we're terrible communicators with each other. Or like I think I was the younger sibling, and I sort of had like a more like I had my home was like it was pretty volatile, I would say, lots of yelling, lots of being upset, lots of not communicating for days, it was really interesting. So I think that makes it really difficult for me to like find my footing and like be able to communicate, which is something I work on a lot in therapy. And like it's just interesting because like it dawned on me the other day that I was like, oh shit, I really need to work on my communication skills. Like I think I'm good at it because I studied public relations and communications and God, it was not the same fucking thing.
No, yeah, absolutely not. It's not.
I'm like, I write professionally, and I'm like, that's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Because I realized like I have a really hard time like voicing my feelings and knowing I tend to project what other people are feeling about a situation, because that's like in my household I sort of had to like assume my parents are feeling a certain way so it's not step on their toes, so it's not get yelled at, or stuff like that. And so I realized I copy and pasted that into my relationships, and where I think I'm being a good communicator by like doing everything to like appease them or like going with a flow or like whatever, I'm like not communicating my needs and things. And when it came down to it, like I had a recent conversation with somebody, and I just like was so like they just turn questions back. I'm really good at like asking questions and learning more, but when it comes back to me, I just completely don't know how to communicate like my feelings, which is really weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think if I had to, not that there is sides, because I'm trying to get rid of my black and white thinking, but like if I had to compare like my relationship in my family dynamic and how that it has affected my own like personal romantic relationships, I very much agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, to be quite honest, I've like called out my dad. I'm like, you are a bad communicator. Like literally, if you are mad at me, you tell me. You don't tell mom to tell me.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's a lot of, like,
I had that
being the
conversation.
messenger.
Yeah, because I had my family had like a fight the other day with my sibling for this, and my parents. I was like in the middle. I was like, okay, let me talk to my sibling. Okay, how do you feel about the situation? Great. I'll relay it back to mom and dad. Mom and dad,
but
hello.
like, at the
this
same
is how
time,
they feel.
you're using your PR skills. And
Yeah. I'm like, this person feels this way. Could you issue your statement, please? And then my parents were like, can you please just tell them that we're sorry? And I'm like, no. you can tell you're sorry. And it was just weird because I feel like that's again, this lifestyle so ingrained in me that I don't realize that there's maybe a better way of doing it. There you can like assert your own feelings and like communicate, you know, directly to the person, and it's just so strange.
I think it was a recent thought of mine too, where I would always say I'm so emotional, I'm so expressive, but I think I feel a lot of emotions, but it's really hard to verbalize all these different emotions.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not just I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry. Like there's so much in between sadness and anger. You know, but it's like so hard to like get frustrated, and there's so many feelings. But I think it was recent, like maybe early 2021, where I realized like, oh my gosh, like I'm good at, I think, the more like work related stuff that's more tangible. Like I'm so good at like expressing feelings about those types of things. But yeah, when it comes to emotions, I think in general, it's just really, really hard.
It is really hard. Yeah.
And then I was thinking about what you were saying about being the like liaison, going back and forth. I think that's not possible at my house because I'll just go up to the person and be like, are you mad at me? And then they just have to answer. You know, they have to answer.
Damn, I love that.
And like, I mean, it might escalate, right? Because then like usually like my dad would be like, yeah, because you blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, well, why are you upset about it? And then it would go up. It would go up.
Right,
but
right.
I think typically in our family, we just kind of ask, right? Like, are you mad at me? Like, if you are like, why are you mad at me? Yeah, just directly.
So direct.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
Oh. So on a different track of trains, does this make any sense? Does that transition make any sense?
On a different track of trains. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's so cute.
It is cute.
We were talking
like
about
train track?
On a different train track.
I guess.
Yeah, that works too.
I guess. So this is not a normal podcast.
You're
So
right.
on a different track of train.
That's so
It's
so cute.
It is
I know,
cute.
right? I'm curious, like, so me growing up in like a very Korean household, like we eat basically only Korean food,
Like dinners for breakfast.
Yes,
You
dinners
know?
for breakfast, just all the soups for breakfast.
Yep.
I think that there has always been like a lot of pressure on me to like date someone of the same ethnicity. Like I'm curious, like what is your like experience with that?
Yeah, I think there was there was like light pressure, and definitely my parents, you know, have, you know, their biases, prejudices, and you know, they're, you know, I've had to do a lot of work to make them more understand, because all of my past relationships have been not of people of my same, like none of them were Chinese, Taiwanese. My mom is always like, can you please just date a Taiwanese doctor for once?
You can be a surgeon too. That's okay.
A surgeon, a registered nurse, it's fine. No. I'm, like, all seriously, yeah. I think they that kind of went out the door. Like when in my first high school relationship, you know, he was not. He was actually he was half white, half Filipino. So that was my first like high school relationship. They loved the guy. They still love the guy. They're still like, Carrie, how's name redacted doing? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, he was a really nice guy. And I'm like, okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
Didn't need that.
No, but I think now when I enter these periods of singledom, like they don't like pressure it on me. They're like, you know, date whoever you want, blah blah blah. Like, but they do go like, you know, I went to a Taiwanese church the other day, and you know, there's some single men out there. You know, I could introduce you. There's a man named Timmy, and I'm like,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Firstly, you're in Michigan. Secondly, like, what is this? But no, definitely there's a little bit of pressure, I think. But my parents, I think, yeah, went out the door with the men that I've dated. So yeah, but I've definitely had like big conversations with them about, you know, race, culture, and you know, interracial dating. You know, it's really something I wanted them to like accept and be welcoming of. And you know, they're not always, to be honest. You know, they still, you know, again, carry their prejudices. You know, are, you know, can be racist. You know, like that straight up. But you know, I really try to work with them to you know, be empathetic and understanding, and for the most part they do actually a pretty good job. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
maybe I need to do the same with my parents. Like, I feel like they still really, really want me to date someone like just like culturally. Like, my dad has always said, like, it's easier. It's just easier. Like, you have like a head start, basically. Like, there's just like a lot less that you need to explain.
You know what? I do empathize with that though, because I think now, like, I've gone sounds so like my friends are like, oh, this sounds so problem, but they're like, Carrie, you're on an Asian man kick. Like right now, you're just dating Asian men. I'm like, what do you mean? But it's like, it's just there. You're right. There's like an innate understanding with someone of your same background, that, you know, it really helps to not have to like explain why we do little things like, you know, like eat dinner for breakfast, like stuff like that. But even like bigger cultural things, I can understand where that comes from. And I think that's also something that I've been considering in my dating journey as well. Like, do I want someone who can innately relate to myself that way? Because I've been in relationships where it didn't relate at all, like very different cultural backgrounds, and it was hard, so I can understand that, but also I also can understand the other side of trying to push parents to think outside the box a little bit.
Yes, it's definitely like about finding like that balance.
Yeah.
I think this is also one of those things where I think growing up, just to pick my parents' brain, I would always be like, oh, like what if I brought a white boy home?
Oh yeah.
I would just do that just to see what they would respond.
Right.
And I think my parents, like, I don't know, they're confusing, man. Like they're so, my mom is like, they're low-key so strict, low-key really not. But they were like, the end is always like, I mean, it's your life, like you're the one getting married to them. But I think in the back of my mind, that pressure of, okay, like if my parents retire, like I do want to take care of them or support them, and if if they visit and whatnot, like you said, Hannah, it's a head start. I don't know, for me, I guess the biggest factor was just them being able to communicate with my parents.
That's actually that's a really big thing. As I know you were saying, like like I think I have the parental expectation of when I'm older, they're gonna move into my house. Like I have to have like a guest house for them or something. And I don't know if you're a parent or like I have like an in-law unit or something.
No,
like
constantly.
Yeah. So in that regard, like I feel like that has not been understood historically unless it was with someone of my similar background.
See, unless you're me and you set the expectation, and I told my dad that I would live in a neighboring city as him. I told him I would want to live in the same city. Yeah. He would take my kids to soccer, but he has to live in a neighboring city because then he'd be over like way too much.
Right. It wouldn't be like a backyard again situation with your parents, where you just share the backyard.
So for me, a lot of my like non-negotiables, I don't know if you've ever thought of yours.
Oh man.
Like that was the tricky part, was like how many of my non-negotiables are honestly influenced by like trying to satisfy my parents' needs versus like what I really want.
Oh, I get that.
And like I answered, it's kind of both. It's like 50-50, but for you, how many would you say are like influenced or probably because of your parents?
Yeah, that's actually really interesting you bring up non-negotiables, because that's something I'm learning right now. Like I think back in the past I'm like everything can be negotiable. But no, I think similarly right now I'm like my therapist made me list out like, okay, these three pockets of just life things, and then I'll segue into what she talked about specifically with non-negotiables. But I was like, so that's my therapist's name. I don't know what I want, and I don't know what I want versus what society thinks I should want versus what my parents think I want. She's like, okay, map it out. Write all the things that you want in the next like year or so, and then splice out like what you think really resonates with you, what you think is because of your parental pressure, and what you think is because of your like societal pressure. And that was a really helpful practice. Yeah, shout out to my therapist.
I like that.
She's great. But that really helped me see like, okay, non-negotiables to me, value kindness. I think that's something that I value a lot, maybe apart from my parents, apart from different things. That's something that I really need. Another non-negotiable, the ones that are non-negotiable that maybe like have a job or career trajectory. We
love someone who's a little bit stable.
But either not necessarily goes to therapy, but takes care of their mental health, stuff like that. Those are some things that I think because of that exercise, I was able to parse out what do I want there. The problem is keeping them, the non-negotiables non-negotiable. So my therapist was telling me, she was like, okay, Carrie, like you're dating now, just make sure before you fall in love, you can talk about your non-negotiables. You want kids at this age, you want X, Y, and Z, like do all that shit before we fall in love. And I was like, huh? It really blew my mind, because it's those are things like you're afraid of bringing, or I'm afraid of bringing up so early on. Like,
wait, that's what she meant? Like talk about it
with your
before
partner.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because if you find out like 5 years later, they don't want kids. they you know, have X, Y, and Z finance, whatever, you know, then it's like years in and you're like, oh shit, like I don't know what is there. I know, it blew my mind.
Wait, that's actually crazy. Like I've literally, so I have my non-negotiables list, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
But then I have never like openly talked about it with my partner, you know, when I was dating. Yeah,
I've never done that like prior to that point. I mean, at that point this was like 3 weeks ago.
like so recent.
It's so fresh, it's in my brain. But yeah, like she was saying, I was like, well, like that, what if it's scary? Like what if like they don't, and there she's like, well, if they don't receive it, then they're not the one. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah, like the answer is so simple.
Okay, no, the answer is so
Yeah.
simple. But when I came time to like have that conversation, you know, I was practicing. I was like, okay, my therapist told me to do this. I'm gonna do it. The next date, didn't do it. Oh, it was so hard. It was so hard.
So scary because we have this culture of like, you know, if you basically like state any of your needs, they're like, oh yeah, she's high maintenance.
Yeah.
And so
oh
it's
yeah.
so scary
It's
to try to
scary.
like get them to commit to anything. And it's like, wait, I'm not even saying this because I know for sure it's like you, like I choose you. Like it's not even that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just communicating it. And so I'm like, I don't want you to
Yeah.
misinterpret it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh
Damn.
gosh.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Why? Have you talked about it with your partner?
Like my current partner. Oh, for sure.
Oh.
For sure.
See, this
I mean-
is yeah.
But like also I just laugh a bit because we've also identified that I'm a little high maintenance. And, no, I don't know, like I think I thrive on efficiency.
I love that. Yes, she's not high maintenance. She
And so-
thrives on efficiency.
Yeah, so
she knows what
I
she
can
wants.
understand
Yeah.
that. Because, you know, like, I also believe, right, very heavily, like, things happen for a reason. So let's say, like, you thought you really liked this guy and, like, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a waste of time. But,
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, you can't help but to think, like, oh, but if we did have this conversation from the start, we wouldn't have been committed to each other, I don't know, for a year,
Yeah.
2, like, I don't know, a long time.
Yeah.
Like, if we already identified and if we, like, didn't brush off how we actually felt, right? And I feel like when I was younger, I didn't really understand this, but, like, you know when you know type of thing? Like, so in the case that he's not it, you know. We're just too scared to, like, we like convince ourselves like no, but like maybe it's like my period, maybe it's like the birth control, like maybe it's like he's like going through a tough time.
Ooh,
right?
It's always that one.
It's truly there's never the perfect time, like and then we're like we know he's not the one, but we keep pushing it. But you know what I mean, if we just like we're efficient
Efficiency
with our feelings, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, yeah, maybe I need to be a little bit more efficient.
I think I need to value efficiency over
Over anything
else. I love this. It's amazing.
I'm learning so much.
Your life is short. You gotta
It is.
get to the point.
It is. And this too, I have to say, like, roots like from my parents.
Yeah.
You know, like
Dang. Yeah, no, I feel like for me too, like definitely my parents' relationship like obviously affected like my sister and I. And so like for us, I think it was definitely that like my parents growing up, they worked a lot, and I don't think I realized until like honestly maybe about a week ago,
Yesterday,
like
2 days ago.
yeah, like so recently how much my parents worked. And so like I think for like a really really large part of my childhood, I was raised by my grandparents who like lived with us but also only speak Korean. And so because of like the language barrier, I almost feel like I was like forced to like self-soothe and like kind of like learn how to just like calm myself down. And I don't mean to be like you have to have a reason for like the way that you are, like none of that, but I think just in observing like my own behavior, like I've just like completely realized that like maybe this is why I have such a hard time like expressing my feelings and being vulnerable because like I never had to like like there was no like practice when I was growing up. And so yeah, no, I think like definitely my parents like played a huge part in that. And then also the language barrier thing. Like, it's really hard when you're not able to like express your feelings, and it's like, you know what you're feeling, but like I just like don't have the vocabulary.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Both in my primary language and also secondary language. Yeah, just a lack of vocabulary for sure.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Actually, that's one of the main things I wanted to address. We have yet to do this, but like with Asian Mental Health Project, like coupled, like, you know, there is stigma in mental health and stigma in talking about your feelings, but it's not just stigma; it's also language barrier.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't know if I can tell you the word for depression, anxiety.
Yeah,
you know, in Mandarin, the language that I speak right now.
I don't think I know what anxiety is in Korean.
Yeah, exactly, and like. Part of it is, you know, obviously, you know, you're shamed for talking about your feelings, but again, part of it is that, like, how do you talk about it when you don't know these words? And at the same time, there's also different, obviously, depression, anxiety, those are also like Western terms. You know, there's like different ways of expressing mental health and things in you know, different Asian languages, but that is such a core part. Like, language barrier is such a big barrier, you know? To understanding your own feelings, especially in the household when you have to communicate by juggling two languages or more, you know, it makes it very difficult to learn how to express yourself and learn how to be direct when you don't have the like actual vocabulary to do it and be clear and be understood in the household. So that's super interesting.
Ooh, and I think one of the like key parts is also like comprehension, like being understood, because even though you may be communicating it, like everyone has such a different perspective, like they're not going to be interpreting it exactly.
100%,
you know. So that is such a that's such a key.
And it takes a lot of patience to understand and be understood, you know, like, and in the matters of, you know, being an immigrant household, I think my parents worked a lot too. They don't have the time to sit there, be patient, and, you know, like, listen to their kids feel like I get it, like, you know, like they were working so hard, again, trying to translate the things that they did so they could teach us English while they were simultaneously learning, like, it's just so hard to be able to do all of those things. So like I can empathize with why they didn't talk about mental health, why they didn't talk about how to nurture a healthy relationship, or, you know, sex education. It's really hard. How do you have all those conversations?
I'm trying to imagine my parents like sex education, like,
oh my god, my dad talked about it the other day. He's like, America has bad sex education. I was like, hello. I don't learn anything from you, sir.
Yeah, do you want to improve? Do you want to expand?
Do you want to
now
explain it? I know. Just kidding. I don't know what sex is.
And, you know, I think, I don't know, I feel like people can also take it two ways, right? Like, I think for me, like, I also just realized, like, for me and my sister, we come from the same two parents. Like, we were parenting styled the same way, if not better for her, because I was like the practice child, right? But I noticed, like, with my dad's absence when we were younger, right? Just like, obviously childhood plays a huge part. I don't know, Hannah, kind of similar to you, like my sister, I think she kind of like started to give up.
Oh yeah.
Right. So here for me, like here I am like trying to explain, like double, triple. Like, did you understand? Like, and repeating myself over and over again. Like, did you actually understand? Like, trying to use like different words here and there. Really like hoping that I get the message across. But I a lot of times I feel like I see my sister trying to explain, and if we don't get it the first time, it's just like a lost cause to her, and she'll just be like, oh, never mind. Even if you like grow up with the same parents, like how it affects a child, I think is so different.
So different. Yeah.
But I don't know, for you, was it like that too? I mean, you had an older brother, so you were the youngest. But
I was the youngest. Yeah. I think, we were treated differently because of gender a lot. And gender plays an interesting role in my family. Without getting too into it, you know, gender identity is something that, you know, was debated a lot and not very well respected in my family. So, you know, my sibling and I were treated really differently, and that ended up in a lot of heat in our home. But I'll just talk about myself. You know, I think I had, you know, going back to the expectations of me as a woman, as, you know, like they were just like heavy expectations of me playing my gender role as a Chinese Taiwanese woman. You know, you're supposed to do, you know, get married by 26, 26 and have a child and have a house that's like good already for in-laws to move in.
But like a degree, obviously,
With
right?
a degree, making money by
and-
yourself, but also you shouldn't make the money by yourself. It should be your husband.
being the breadwinner.
It doesn't make any sense, but there we are. But no, that is really interesting because I think so much about my gender and my identity, and it was so hard to communicate why I did that a lot growing up. But it's because I think there were a lot of expectations I didn't know how to like communicate that I was like uncomfortable with. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but yeah, it is a little different because you know we were definitely raised we were treated with same parents, essentially the same parenting style, but they are very much like boy is gonna do manly things, girl is gonna do girly things. Like even with weightlifting, we were talking about that earlier. They were so mad. Like some of the biggest fights I've gotten into like are because like I was weightlifting and my dad was like, no, like you can't do that. That's a man thing to do. Like that's horrible. Like, I don't want you to be a man. You know, all these different things. And I didn't realize how much that affected me until I'm like reflecting now. I'm like, why am I so self-conscious about my gender? You know, lots of things about that, but like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
We can get it.
No,
That's a whole different topic.
I can totally relate. And I think it definitely impacts like your mental health.
Yeah.
Because for me, like similarly, like I think my parents had a similar conversation, like what language should I take, Chinese or French? And my mom was like, oh, well, French sounds like prettier, right? But my dad was like, but Chinese will come in more handy when like business and like just more like economically. And then when I was choosing sports too, like I had shown a bit of interest in track, but was it going to be track or dance? You know, if you do track, like you're going to get like bigger calves than I already have, or like more muscular thighs. And so I think for me, like mentally that impacted like how I looked physically.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like I think the control, and I think one thing that really affected was like the control and sort of like policing, I guess, but of what my physical appearance looked like based off of the activities that I did or wasn't allowed to do, which is really, really interesting. Which then again also does affect my relationships, because I'm like, oh shoot, like how do I be the perfect woman for this person? Or, you know, like that's the expectation of like, oh, like my mom was saying, like you can't keep a man. Like shit. Like, no.
That's so tissue.
I'm fine. No, it's really interesting. And all these things like intersect, because it's all part of our like childhood, and and they're all they come to play when we're adults, and
definitely
crazy. Like
definitely.
You really got me reflecting right now, because
oh shit, sorry.
I think no, I love it, because I think like literally currently right now I'm going through this like, oh, I want to be more feminine phase. And I've been thinking about like, I'm thinking about why. Like I'm like, why? Because I very much love like my skater dude style, like hip hop. And then like I feel like I've been making a conscious effort to like dress more feminine. Like I'm like more feminine silhouettes. And I really do think it's very much related to like, I hear my parents. I literally hear my parents being like, oh, like you shouldn't wear that. Or like even my dad being like gross, like that is so gross. Like if I like burp at the table, you know, stuff like that. Like he's so grossed out. It's so crazy. But like I'm like really reflecting right now. Like as to why.
And that's also another like parents thinking you're like I can definitely relate to that. But one thing that pops in my mind is like it was so hard for me to find the balance of like, you know, you need to be pretty to attract X, Y, and Z, but you can't be too sexy. You know, like I just remember like have a big fight with my mom. I wore this like red dress one time. I was like in college, and oh my god, like she was just so upset at me because and it was just so hard to. This dives into a whole other issue, but like she was like, men are dangerous, men are scary, you can't wear that, it's really dangerous for you, how could you wear that, you know, stuff like that, putting it on me, you know, it's the whole like, you know, you know, women not asking for it, etc., so forth. So I was trying to have that conversation with her, but it didn't pan out very well. But like at the same time I can also understand where that comes from, because, you know, the way you dress, the way you perform on a day-to-day basis, that informs the way people treat you. But like, should it like I don't know.
Because it was quarantine that I really realized, like, why do I have this, like, I don't want to use the word obsession, but it's like, why do I have this need to like always present myself like in that way that like I want to be viewed like everything's going well, like I dress well, I'm doing well academically, I'm doing well like at work, like I don't know, I just feel this need because in the Korean culture, just everyone has something to say about everybody.
Oh yeah,
you know. And I mean, just even my parents too. Like it's so hard. It's one of those things where like I don't think they're coming from like an ill, like you know, like with ill intention, but it truly just kind of screws with like mentally how you think, because I don't know. I think my dad would say this to hold more conversations with my sister because she shows way less emotion than I do. But it would be things like I would wear something and then she would try it on and he'd say like, oh, it looks so much better on her. Right? But like I almost feel like I can understand where he was just trying to make her feel better because he knows I can deal with it. But I just feel like that too has like at one point impacted my mental health on my physical image.
Oh yeah.
Just what pretty looked like, what I thought my parents thought was like pretty. And so yes, it's triggering.
Yeah.
It's okay, you're good. And so I guess in terms of like closing tips, is there anything that you want to leave our Kogis with, whether that be about body image, dating, like anything and everything?
I mean, I think maybe this could be like a closing, let's do this together sort of situation. Because I'm like, I don't know if I'm in a position to give tips per se, but something that, you know, I encourage folks to empower themselves to do is one, like similar to what my therapist was saying, I was talking about, you know, like think about what you want, understand that you deserve to have the things that you want and that you can do whatever you need to do to get there. You know, I think it's important to center yourself when you're talking about relationships, when you're talking about family. It's so easy to think about everybody else, but like think about you. Again, I'm like projecting yourself at your core. What do you want? And how can you honor those values for yourself? Yeah. I think that's my parting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Also, I like that you clarified, like, maybe we're not in a position to,
Like,
you know, give
for
tips.
sure.
Yeah. I never thought about that, but I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I could definitely think it, but it's so hard to express it. I don't know. What that ultimately comes down to for me is like, everything is like in my control, right?
Yeah.
Everything is just like in my control. And it's like, everything is just a balance of it all, right? So finding like your, right, like your mental safe haven-ish.
Yeah.
Right? Like what puts you in that like safe zone, but like making sure that doesn't also become.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh,
it's really
wow.
important to honor your
Yeah.
values and then be intentional with what you want to do and like know that you deserve to treat yourself the best.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that. And yeah, no, I think like the last thing I kind of want to leave everyone with is like what you said actually is like trying to be more intentional in dating. Like I think specifically for me, a lot of my non-negotiables, like they were never non-negotiables. Like I never kept them as non-negotiables. And I think it's so easy to like find somebody and then like, you know, tweak your non-negotiables here and there. And so I think like my biggest thing right now is just like maybe doing some internal reflection, making sure that like I'm setting a good foundation for a healthy relationship and then going into it.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
thank you so much.
This is so fun. This is such a good conversation.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, and it's like so good to see you. Like you're just like one of the like brightest people I know. Like just such a shining light. Like I like the energy that you bring into a room.
Yeah.
I'm always like, Carrie.
Yeah, I've already shared. I was telling my boyfriend actually, like you have such a contagious laugh. Like it's so contagious. It's great. I love it.
Wow, that's so nice. You guys are so cute. That's so nice.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, guys, be sure to check out Curiosities on Instagram.
Not Cariocytes.
No ringworm here.
Yeah.
Asian Mental Health Project on Instagram, and then also asianmentalhealthproject.com. They have so many different resources, but if you are struggling, please go to the appropriate
outlet, measure, resource.
Yes, and if you go on our website, we actually have, different, we don't have databases, but we can refer you to different types of mental health help. And we also have templates that, can help with email outreach and phone outreach as well. So,
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Alrighty.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
Wow. This is not right. We were all like, no, this is way too late to be like, we're all like tired. We're going, ooh.